Hello, everyone. So glad to have you back this week for our color palette painting challenge. And we're still in Cube 1. This is going to be the 4th palette that I'm going to choose from Colorcube 1 by Sarah Renae Clark. We've already done 3. Let me see if I can grab one. Grab a bunch at first, and then I'll just take one from here. And wow. Okay, 138 is the number of the palette. And our colors are burgundy, rust, orange, meadowlark, and white. So, get to officially bring white in and not have it as a standby that I can always use regardless of the palette. We've got white this time. Really getting stuck in this burgundy, rust, orange. I guess it's trying to make me like these colors. So I'm going to find some paints that I can use and we'll start from there. Okay. All right. So we are back and getting ready to put something on the page here for color palette 138. The colors are burgundy, rust, orange, what they're called meadowlark, which looks like a lemony yellow green, and white. Again, colors I wouldn't pick, but that's part of the challenge. So I went and looked through materials and I'm thinking, hey, let's try yet again to do a kind of flow piece. So I got my concentrated watercolors. These are liquid watercolors from Dr. P.H. Martin. I've got crimson, sepia, golden brown, and an amber yellow. I have no idea how well they'll match, but from memory, they may match up pretty decently with the colors that are here on the palette card. And then I grabbed a acrylic white ink just to have just in case. I'm going to do this in landscape versus portrait. I'm going to set myself up to see if I can do this. This is going to require simplicity and patience. Not stuff that usually comes easy to me, especially when making art. I am going to actually start with, I think I'm going to do the crimson, and I've taped this off a little. I have protection upon protection. This is going to bow. I know it's going to bow. I tried to tape it down a little bit, double stick it. We'll see if it works. If not, I'll just go with it. That's what we do. I want to do a circle. And when you read about things and how things catch the eye and how the human eye goes, I've read some things where if I'm going to look to do a horizon line, potentially down the line on this, and I'm sort of centering, which you're really not supposed to do, but what the heck, I want to. You move it a little bit above the horizon line, which I think I've said in other videos before when I've tried this. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try and make a circle with this. A little bit of a wonky circle. That's okay, because who knows if this is even going to work. I've put water into a little paper Dixie cup. Well, that didn't work now, did it? Well, here we go. We're going to just go around the edge. We're going to let this go. I was going to let it have a little bit of an interior here. Well, we'll see how it works. Just have that little bit of it going around. Well, it looks like we're not going to do a landscape. So we're just going to go where this wants to go. Completely now not doing what I've set this up to do. Absolutely happy that I have tons of protection. It still probably won't even be enough protection for this. Let's see what it does. Now, I had wanted, while this was working like that, to go ahead and drop orange into it. So let's go ahead and do that then. If we're going to go with the flow, let's go with the flow. Go where we have some of the larger bits of water available. This is going to be completely now going off the best laid plans. Trying to let you be able to see what that looks like. Got all this water. This is something when I have seen other people do it, they do it on mineral paper. What I was trying to do was do it where I've seen other people do it on canvas. Dropping that water would have probably worked a lot better. But it is what it is, so we go with it. And that's actually some of the fun, relaxing part. Trying to enjoy watching where the water takes the pigment. Now, the funny thing that's coming out is it's sort of reminding me of when I lived out west and the Red Rock. Oh, what is that park that is on the border where I was in Grand Junction, Colorado? Arches. It's reminding me a little bit of Arches and that Red Rock. Trying to get it to go down there. Oh, now you're being stubborn, huh? Oh, yeah, you're flowing all over the place before. That one little drop was being stubborn. Let's see, there's some sediment right there. What happens if I get the water to go through the sediment on that bottom line? So we've almost got this water all flowing all over the place, taking care of the water that I dropped. I'm going to try and see if I can get it to pour itself out here. Out and about on this paper so that I don't have to do too much time waiting for it to dry. I'm trying to see if I can get lines and gradation in it. Sort of what you don't usually want to do when you're using watercolor. You try not to have the gradation lines, but I'm trying to get them in this one. Who knows what this will look like? It was meant to have a lot of open space on it. And now I'm going to let this dry so that I can see what it's going to look like once this actually is allowed to dry. Where I'm going to get some shades of color, lines, how it's going to look. I've used the amber yellow, which actually turned out to be a little bit more orange, and the crimson. I think I may want to play a little bit with these brown tones so we can start bringing in a little bit of the brown. And we can go from there and see what's going to come out of this. All right, I'm back. It's dry. You may not be able to see it, but I've actually put a circle of water here, a little line of water here, and it's starting to hit this blend of the orange and crimson, or the yellow and crimson. So you see a little bit of yellow coming off. Got a line of water here. Let's see what I can get here first. Well, I was so excited to start before that. Let's see what happens if I just put one in the middle. Okay, let's just put a little line here. Let's see what happens. That's going to actually have a potential of mixing. So that was the sepia. I was thinking red rocks. Like I said, Arches National Park. We've got that red, but you still have earthy tones. Well, let's put a little bit of the darker sepia down. I'm just going to use my finger. Let's see what happens. And I'm touching a little bit of these other areas. Let's see what happens. Trying this out and having it be closer to this area that was dried out. Let's see if you can see a little bit of it moving around. Just gonna see what happens again. If I move it around, will it jump its boundaries a little bit? Just went over and tried to join over there. And it just cracks me up on how some places it will jump, then like right over here. Have to go in and use my fingers because it's really all of a sudden staying to where I didn't drop water. But all these other places, oh yeah, sure, we'll just jump the boundary and go ahead and do it. Let's see. I like how some of that yellow orange jumped in a little bit. Go ahead and bring it in. Let's see. What happens if I go ahead and blur that line? Let's blur the line. Okay. There. I'm going to blur the line for this bottom part. And let's see what it comes up with. Definitely getting some earth tones here. Yes, you can wear gloves when you do this, but no, that would just be too smart. Huh. Interesting. It's holding that boundary line up there on the top. Okay. Use this and take a little bit more off again. If I don't have as much here on the page, let's go ahead and help it along using my fingers. Let's see what's going to happen. What happens if now I'm just finger painting again. Seems to like to be finger painting lately. I like to think of that almost as if it's reflecting down into here. So maybe it's like those mirages out in the desert that we always talk about. That sepia mixed now with that has a little bit of a burgundy, a red tone coming out, definitely more coming back. All right, let's see what we can do. If we can get it to make shapes within all of this water. And it's probably meaning that I'll end up, who knows, coming in with paints, I don't know. Well, I can have this part here that I'm shaking, trying to bring it back now down into this bottom part of the page. So this was definitely where in the past I've let it puddle and see what the puddles end up doing. This is, I'm really trying to manipulate the flow. No, it's not being brown and orange. A little bit on the dark side here, catching. So who knows? Sorry if it's not the best to be seen right now. I do like how that happened at the bottom here. And I love how it has this one little spot right there. Let's get you. I know that tape ain't going to be working anymore. That taping off that area isn't going to work. I like the colors in there. There's definitely some shadow. Trying to figure out if maybe I'll at some point grab some alcohol inks, see what they want to do, but it's a very, very porous surface, so I don't know how well it would work. But we've got that red going. It's supposed to be, like I said, amber yellow. Came out a little bit more on the red tone, especially when you mix it with the crimson. Right now, I've put down the sepia. I have not put down any golden brown. Enough in here that maybe trying to do one drop. Just to really go on that darkness. I always love how it looks. It looks like a little sunflower. So this was the brown that I've got in there. Just gonna try and see if I can get it to work a little bit. Not horribly wet in there, but it is still wet. There is still something that it may be able to flow around on. Oh, there we go. We got a runner. There. See it a little bit better. Very dark. That's where you can see sunlight coming in that I'm trying to use as my light source. Trying to get some of those dots out. I'm actually using my fingers to flick it a little bit. Let me try and do a smaller. Yep, still wet in there. All right, let's do a smaller one. I like how this has some layers going on. Let's play with one here. That's golden brown. You can see how it has that. It is really a lot of fun to watch them. I wonder what would happen if I just let it go like that. It sort of looks like a sunflower. Oh, there you go. That helps if I actually put it in the camera, right? Got a little idea here. Just try and see if I can do just a little bit. Okay. Got all the ink already on my hands going in there. Take a little bit of it off. It's that golden brown. I want to see something. And then I'm going to let this, I'm going to try and stick by my word here and let it dry. Dry, do a little bit of manipulation with it. A little bit of using gravity to spread it out here for a little bit. Swirling that around. It's a round circle of water that I've got there. Can you see? I don't know if you can see the sediment that is rolling around in there. So not a perfect circle. Doesn't need to be a perfect circle. This one down here is still doing its thing. I'm going to let this be and see how it dries. For better or worse, I am back. I have gone ahead and turned on the lamp light because lighting wasn't the greatest before. Came back, let this have a rest, and it's just really stark and white. Doesn't feel finished to me. Trying to figure out this meadowlark color here. I went and grabbed watercolors instead of the liquid radiant ones. I'm into the good old standby of the Gansai Tambi, and this is the Art Nouveau. This color right here is actually their ivy green. This one is gold green. And then I pulled out the saffron yellow. I have been mixing them together. It's probably about as close as I'm going to get, maybe on that darker side of the range. I am potentially going to bring out my Fine Tech metallics and maybe use one of those orange toned ones. I'm going to actually try and do more of a reverse here of a wash, a gradient wash. Wish me luck. I'm getting out one of my larger flat brushes, and I am just going to bring the water across. It will activate because, again, the radiant watercolor is watercolor, and I'm putting water on it. We're going to try and see what happens when I put a little bit of this color combination. We're going to try it over here first. Let's see what it does to me. So we're just going to start it so that it's a little bit darker here. Bringing it across. A little bit more darker here. Still bringing it across. Gonna let that orange come into it. See what that ends up looking like. It'll probably dry later than what it's looking like right now. But, you know, who knows? All right, let's get a little bit more here. I'm going to let it touch that orange, blend it into the white area that has not been painted yet. And now trying to grab up what I got left over here. Or maybe I don't have to redo it. Let's see if we can get this to go. If you've ever been out to that part of the country, what I always used to call the desert side of Colorado when I lived out there for a summer, and that Utah side where Arches is, it can be very hot. It can feel like that heat is just reflecting everywhere. All right, now I'm going to use more of the delicate. There was some on the mixing paintbrush that I used. So let's see if I can water it down a little bit. We'll just do it in here. And again, it's going to activate all of this. Activate that color, which at this point in here, I want it to activate a little bit more. I want a little bit more of that red. It's almost like you're seeing the sun come through the arches. So of course you're going to have a little bit of that heat revolving around the sun. At least that's what I'm going for. So this is what it would look like. I wanted it to be a little bit darker towards what would be the horizon line, and then going up and getting lighter and lighter. And so that'll end up being, what does it look like once this dries again? I'm going to, here we go. Here are the metallics. What do I want to do with this? I'm going to let it have a little bit of a metallic line. That shimmer of what happens when you're out there and that sun is just beating down and it's shining on everything. That's what I'm going for, and that's what I'm sticking with. Letting it dissipate as it goes up to. Because you know, sometimes you just have to have a little bit of shimmer in your Mirage. And it matches. It's definitely orange. Probably do this with a smaller paintbrush. But why? Going over it with a little bit more water. I love these metallics. I don't know if you can see it. They actually, let me see if I can get it to do it for you. Let me see if I do it on this one. Where do I want to do it? Where do I want to lighten it up a little bit? Let's lighten it up right here. So it slows a little bit. I don't know if you can see, catch how it's moving. Actually moves. Metallic moves a little bit. That's actually looking very pretty. See, sometimes you just have to keep going and you make little happy accidents and they start to make the piece look a little bit better. As you know, I tend to get into the, oh no, it's horrible, everything sucks. And maybe doesn't always suck as much as I think it is. Or sometimes I just have a good way of somehow pulling myself out of the problem. That is nice. All right, let's see if we can get it to do it over here. So I've got a well to the side where I've got a little dab of it. So let's just try. See if we can do the same over here now. Making a little bit of the orange on the sky. Because it's a hot day. Hot day out in the desert. Okay. We're just going to come over here. Paint some of this with a little bit of metallic in it. We're just basically at this point pulling it through. We're using this orange metallic to add another top layer to everything. Working that orange with some of the browns and magenta that I laid down. What I'm hoping for is something that makes a little bit more sense and a little fun to it. That actually very nice. And you just get a little bit of a line in there. The orange, when it loses a little bit of the metallic, looks a little bit more like that. Let's see. It turns it to rust. Turning it a little bit to that rust color. It's sort of coming together. Sometimes you just got to let go and see what happens. See if it can figure out a way to work out itself. And I just hold the paintbrush. So sort of like a little bit of a tumbleweed over here, or reflections coming into the area. Who knows? It can be whatever it wants. I'm just gonna wash this out a little bit over here. Okay. All right. Now I want to try. Do I want to do it with this or smaller brush? Let's see if I can quickly grab a smaller sized round. All right. Let's see what we got here. I know my arm just went across. Will it really show off like it's rays coming off the sun? Maybe not. I could be more specific with them, more detailed, but I'm not really there yet. So let's just help it shimmer a little bit. Be interested to see what that does. If it actually shows it. Nah, it's not looking like it's going to show it. Put it down just a wee bit. And just deaden it down, almost tie-dyeing it. Sometimes like coming in and seeing what happens if I try and use the paper towel to pull it and just go with that. But sometimes you can just overwork the paper and then you get yourself into a whole other can of worms. This just basically at the moment is staying in this folder. I have a thought about what I'm going to do with all of these paintings that I do in this book, but that won't be for another couple of months. Maybe if I hit doing this for maybe a half a year, we'll see. There's a lot of palettes to get through. Just putting a little bit of what I have left over in my palette of that combination of these three Art Nouveau's, colors from the Art Nouveau watercolor. So at this point, we're going to let everything dry again and see what it ends up really looking like. It really is at a point where I could probably go ahead and remove a lot of this. We're going to see that going crazy with that watercolor did end up going through. See, went through onto the back here. So is what it is. All right, let's go ahead and see what this is going to look like. Now, yeah, these were painted over. Let's see. All right, so we're here. We're going to just pull it off at a 45-degree angle. And now we're going to go over to this side. Do the same thing. Here we go. All right, so let's see. All right. Again, pulling off at a 45-degree angle. And then that means we're going to have a little corner up here that's going to have that red tone. Let's pull it away from the painting. Well, in some ways, sort of looks like that, you know, again, it's really hot weather. We're going with it's really hot weather. Let's try and get some off of it. Go out here. Nope. All right. Let's try and mix it. Ooh, that's really, really heavy. There's a little bit more water in it. took all that safety off. And now I'm going up into all the area that I was so careful with, huh? All right. There we go. There is our little desert scape out there using the Radiant Color Wash. The color palette we used was 138 from Colorcube 1 of the Sarah Renae Colorcube system. Burgundy, rust, orange, meadowlark. We did not use white. Basically tried to use a lot of those. And I think I pulled it out a little bit. This is pretty much where we're at. This is definitely not usually my style, but it is what it is, and you go with the flow. That's all part of these challenges, to get out of my comfort zone using colors, but also just trying different things basically on the fly. Hopefully, if you've liked what you've seen, you will subscribe, come back and see how the color palettes treat me in the future, and what strange things I can come up with on the fly to do with the paints. Please share. Make a comment how you thought about this one, and I will see you at the next one. Thank you.